In an integrative negotiation, the two parties work together to reach an outcome that benefits them both while maintaining or even enhancing their relationship. In an integrative negotiation, you attempt to address needs and interests, not positions, and this requires that the two parties share information. That is, in order for the two parties to work together on a mutually beneficial outcome, they have to understand each other's interests, needs, and constraints. Such sharing requires trust, so the two parties must trust each other. And this is why it is important to take the time to build a relationship with the other side. However, even if a relationship has been built, it is always prudent to be careful, and perhaps you should use the tit-for-tat approach when sharing information. That is, instead of one party revealing all its information first, it is better to have the two parties take turns sharing information. Alright, so clearly we need to be good at preparing, building relationships, and exchanging information. But how exactly should an integrative discussion proceed? Well, one approach that can facilitate reaching an integrative outcome is to use log rolling. The key to negotiation success is to find a way to exchange concessions so that you get something valuable while giving up something less valuable to you. And this approach is called log rolling. In order to practice log rolling, we must do the following. First, there has to be more than one issue to discuss and resolve. Second, the two parties must be different from each other. They have to have different interests, different preferences, and perhaps even different expectations about the future across all the issues to be discussed and resolved. And of course, the parties must be willing to share these differences with each other. The goal here is to leverage the opportunity that these differences present to the two parties. Perhaps we can think of a practical application. So, first, during your preparation, you must identify more than one issue to be discussed and resolved. Secondly, and this is still during your preparation, determine your own interests and preferences as well as your priorities across the identified issues. Perhaps even rank order the issues accordingly. Third, after a relationship has been created, talk to the other party to determine the existing differences in interests and preferences across these issues. Fourth, think in terms of bundles of issues. Try to move away from working through each issue separately and consecutively. Try to instead packaging several issues into a bundle that you can compare with other bundles in order to determine relative preferences and the relative strength of those preferences. That is, by comparing different bundles, you will get a sense for what the other party is willing to exchange in order for you to get a better deal on your high-value issues. And this comparison of bundles should be a brainstorming activity. And as is always true during brainstorming, there should not be an implicit or explicit commitment attached to the discussion at this point. As you have discussed several bundles of issues, you will need to narrow down on an agreement that will be mutually beneficial. The hope is that after the discussion, one or perhaps a few bundles will have emerged as possible candidates for an outcome. This means that the choice is both limited and perhaps even easy. If there remains uncertainty, the two parties should use objective criteria to make the final choice. Well, that's it. Perhaps we can finish with a practical example. Suppose you and another party is negotiating over two issues, say price and delivery frequency. You, as a buyer, would of course want to have a low price and frequent deliveries. Suppose further that your interests and preferences are such that you are more concerned about the frequent delivery than you are about the low price. And perhaps the reason is that you lack storage and would have to make large investment to accommodate infrequent deliveries. Suppose further that you want to pay $10 and have weekly deliveries, while the seller has expressed a desire for $20 and deliveries every 3 weeks. If this is a distributive encounter, you will seek a compromise across each issue, and perhaps an agreement will be reached at, say, a price of $15 and bi-weekly deliveries. However, this is not optimal. Given your interests and preferences, a better approach would be to bundle price and delivery, and through trial and error come to realize that an agreement of a price, say, close to $20 and weekly delivery would actually be better for both parties. That's an example of an integrated negotiation using log rolling.